studio space. I am so excited to have shared last week's video with you and to get to finally show you all the updates that I made on the space. It was a complete room renovation. The room is totally different from what it used to be, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. Nala's in here all the time. Even if I'm not in here, she loves to be in this chair. It's just a great update to our house and just made the space so much more useful. For this week's video, we're going to finish this room off. It is almost done. We have like 90% of the work complete. I'm already really happy with how the room looks. We just have a few finishing touches to do and then one more thing that we need to build. This week, what I want to do is build the cabinet that's going to go on the wall over here. Right now on this wall we have the dresser that was in this room before. It went with the bed that was in here. I've had it since college and it's a great dresser. It's just not really the vibe of the room. I want a little bit more of like a reclaimed wood look, a little bit more vintage, a little more handmade and special. The dresser that we have is from IKEA and it's just time for an update. The idea for this cabinet is that I want it to look like a full wall built-in cabinet. So it's going to cover most of the wall on this side of the room. To do that, because we live in an old house, it's built in the 1920s, it's considered a historic house. So a lot of the elements of this house are a little bit quirky. They're not standard for today's homes. We have a lot of things that we have to kind of work around. So one of those things is that all of our doors in this house are smaller than the standard door. Things that could fit into a modern house will not fit through our doors. For example, in the last video you saw getting this desk into this room, we literally had to take the door off the hinges. It was not coming in if we didn't do that. We have some kind of funny things that we have to work with. So because the doors are so small, I want to build this cabinet in two parts so that one day, if we move, when we move, I'm able to take the cabinet with us and get it out the door. I've already gone to the hardware store and I got a good chunk of the wood that's going to be needed for this project. I do have to go back because we weren't able to fit all of the wood into the car at the same time, but we're going to build this cabinet mainly out of pine wood. I like pine wood because it's easy to work with. It's fairly inexpensive for the cost of wood right now. It stains really well and it's just really durable. So our coffee table that you guys have seen in a bunch of videos, that is made out of pine wood. I built that over the summer and it's made out of 2-inch thick pine wood. We're going to be working with 1-inch thick pine wood, doing a little bit thinner of a wood so that it doesn't take up as much of the storage space inside of the cabinet. The back of the cabinet we're going to do with a indented plywood. What that means is it looks like wood panel strips. Just to show you guys kind of my process, I went through I think 3 different versions of what this cabinet was going to look like before landing on the final version. The things that influenced that were functionality, because we want to have as much storage space as possible, and then durability, and also price point, and of course the look of it, because I want it to look a certain way. I want it to match the vibe of the room. That is something that I personally focus on a lot. What I landed on was making a cabinet that has 3 shelves that are quite large, 2 doors on each shelf. So it'll be open storage space inside of those shelves, 2 doors to close them up. So it's gonna look like this. This is where it's gonna be 2 pieces, but it'll be connected. So it'll look like one. We're going to have little feet down here that lift off the ground about 2 inches, and then 2 doors on each side and open shelving inside, and this space right here will be open for decorative items. So here's a little bit better of a drawing if you're interested in kind of replicating this or just want to see how to go about breaking down the steps to do it yourself. What I'm going to do, because this is actually the largest wood project that I have ever taken on. This is going to be a pretty big cabinet and I'm fairly new to woodworking. I've been doing it a couple of years now and I'm completely self-taught. So I'm kind of just learning as I go. What I want to do is break this into steps to make sure that I don't make a mistake, and if I do make a mistake, I can catch it early and not have it affect the entire project. I went ahead and marked out the first round of cuts on the wood that I'm going to do, and I'm going to break this into into the two sections of the cabinet. So I'm going to make one complete cabinet first, and then once I know that that all went smoothly, I can move on to the second. So I know it's a lot of math. Woodworking is a ton of math and it can get a little bit confusing, but if you break it into steps like this, it's way more manageable and it makes the project a lot less intimidating. So if you're new to woodworking and you want to take on a project, that would be my suggestion. That's how I went about it, to kind of wrap my head around what it was that I was actually doing. We are going to go and measure and mark our 8 pieces of wood that we're going to be cutting and take it out to the garage and make our cuts, and then we'll be able to come in and start putting our frame together.
Alright guys, so we're going to start building the cabinet. I have everything cut and ready to go, and I actually started building the first half of the cabinet already. That's what's right here. It's obviously not done. I need to put the doors on still, but we have the frame and the shelves and the back on it, and then I have some doors made. I have to make one more set for this, and then we're going to do exactly what I did with this one again for the second half. I am choosing to connect these just with screws from the outside. When you're building something like this, you have a couple of options. You can either just screw from the outside into the 2 pieces of wood that you want to connect, or you could use pocket holes. So if you saw, I think it was actually my first video I ever posted, where I made a wooden stool. I used pocket holes for that, and those just make it so that you can't see where the nail is coming from. It sits inside of the wood and makes a little hole that it burrows out, and then you can fill it so that it's pretty much invisible. That is the more ideal method. It looks more professional in my opinion, but for the type of wood that I'm using a very soft wood, and so to use pocket holes on this, it wouldn't be as strong. So I've been kind of playing around with a couple of ideas for if I do want to cover it up, and I think that what we could do is either use some extra pieces of this backing material, or I could get either some little thin strips of wood or decorative trim and create a design along where each of the screws are. Knowing what the 3 options are, I would love to hear your opinion on this. I'm really not sure which way I want to go, whether you think I should do one of those 3 options or something totally different. Let me know and I can add that on later on and show you an update. Alright guys, so the way that I'm going to build this is by doing one box and then the same exact box and putting them on top of each other, because it is going to be 2 of these boards thick. I'm going to start by building the first box, and I have our long boards that are 86 inches long, and then our short boards are about 35.5 inches long, and the short boards are going to sit inside the long ones, so these will be the outside pieces that we connect with. For the bottom of our cabinet, I want to give it some little feet. The bottom board right here, the short one, is going to be drilled in 2 inches up from where our long pieces start. So I marked it 2 inches up, and then I'm going to take my straight edge here and just make a straight line so that I can't mess it up. I mean, I can, but it'll be a little bit harder. So normally when you're doing something like this, you should do a pilot hole. And what that means is taking your skinny drill bit, having like a kit of a bunch of different sizes, and putting that in your drill and making a hole before you put the screw in so that the wood doesn't split or splinter. I did do that with the first cabinet, but I found that it wasn't really necessary for this wood because it is softer. So the wood was not splitting if I just went straight in with the nail. So I'm not going to be doing a pilot hole, but I just wanted you to know, if you do any other projects or if you choose a different kind of wood, it's better to do a pilot hole because you don't want to end up splitting your wood and then having to deal with that. Now that both boxes are assembled, we're going to go ahead and put glue along all the edges to connect them before I lay it down. Let's lay this thing down. So So there's a little bit of like bowing in the wood, but that's okay. When we add the shelves and Simpson strong ties, it'll straighten it out. So now that we have both sitting on top of each other, you're gonna see that you have some wood glue dripping and things like that. That's fine. We'll wipe that up a little bit later on so that it doesn't dry like that. But right now what I want to do is connect the two pieces of wood. So the wood glue is going to help with that, and the shelves. To give some extra stability, I'm going to add a few Simpson strong ties. I'm going to use these in our corners on the top and then underneath the feet at the bottom to connect these, and then we'll put one under each of our shelves just for extra support. I'm just going to go like that and hold it with my shoe. Okay, so we've started to put our shelves in. So I took our shelves, which are the same lengths as the top and the bottoms that we already did. What I did is I marked out 30 inches from the top and the bottom to know where our shelves are going to go. So we're in the last couple steps of building our second cabinet. So we're going to go ahead and put the backing onto our cabinet. So for the backing, I did go with I think it's called like a paneled plywood. So it looks like little strips of wood, but it's actually just a piece of plywood. So I think it gives a really cool decorative element. It also keeps the budget down, and it's part of the cabinet that is not as structurally important because it's the back. It's not supporting weight, it's just holding things in, and it's not actually even necessary because it's up against a wall. I just like it for the look of it, so it looks more built in. So I did go with plywood. I got 2 sheets of this plywood. It was very, very large. We ended up tying it down to the top of our car because it wouldn't fit inside of it. I'll show you guys how I cut the back with the jigsaw, and then we will attach it. Alright guys, so not gonna lie, this thing is pretty heavy, but we're gonna put the pretty side face down and put the not as cute side up because you won't see it. It'll be up against a wall. Alright guys, so these are our 2 cabinets so far. We have the bulk of them constructed. I'm super happy with how they're looking. I actually think they look pretty even. We'll see when they're side by side if they still look even. If they don't, it's not that big of a deal. Honestly, I literally never expect perfection from the things that I make. I just don't think that's realistic. I'm, not a carpenter. I'm learning as I go. I'm teaching myself. Everything I do is completely self-taught. So if it doesn't look perfect, I'm not going to be devastated by that. I fully expect it to have some quirks and to be a little bit, off like in the shelf height or the door height. And I'm fine with that. So I think if you go into projects like this with that kind of expectation, like obviously I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to try to make them look as professional and perfect as I'm able to. But if they don't look that way, I'm not a carpenter. So it's okay, And I think that with everything we do, it gives them character and it makes them special. That's just my take on it. We're gonna continue with the process. I'm really, really happy with how they're looking. I think the back looks really nice with this plywood. I don't think you'd ever know that this was plywood. And we're also gonna stain and seal these. We're gonna stain them to like a medium tone color. I want them to roughly match the bookshelf that I made in there. So I'm gonna use the same stain that I used on that bookshelf on these. It is slightly different wood from what I used in there. Some of the wood that I'm using is like reclaimed wood. For example, on this door, it's so heavy. So on this door, these 2 outside pieces are pine that I bought at Lowe's. The middle piece is reclaimed wood. It's wood that I salvaged from like a wood yard that they were getting rid of it. It's different. I don't know what it is. I think it's pine, but I'm not totally sure. So it may stain slightly differently. So we might have some variations in our wood tones or how they take the stain. So that's something that I'm prepared for and okay with, because I think that's going to add to the look of it being like a reclaimed or refurbished wood style, which is exactly what I want. I don't want it to look brand new. All that we have left to do at this point is to make our last couple of doors, and then we'll be able to stain and seal them and decorate. We now have our cabinets built, we have our doors built, and we only have a couple of steps left. So we need to stain the cabinets and then put the handles onto our cabinet doors as well and attach the doors to the cabinets. We're gonna go ahead and start by staining them. To put the doors on, I think I'm gonna need my husband Matt's help in holding them up. I do think it's possible to put the doors on yourself. I just don't think it's gonna be fun to do it by yourself. I think it'd be a lot more work. So I'm gonna wait until he can help me to put those on. So in the meantime, we're gonna stain them. The stain that I'm gonna be using today is Minwax Special Walnut. This is the same stain that I used for the bookshelf that I built in the studio space. So I want it to match that bookshelf as closely as possible. We'll see how this wood takes it. Hopefully they will match pretty similarly. And then once that dries, we can put on our cabinet doors and handles and we'll be ready to decorate. Alright guys, so here they are. They are installed. I attached them to the wall so that they're kind of that built-in sort of style and they're super secure. They're not going anywhere. I'm really happy with how these turned out. I'm super proud of them. They are very strong, very heavy, solid wood pieces, and I think they're just a really beautiful statement piece in this room. And I think they could hold their own in any room, honestly, like a really big room. I think these pieces could hold their own. I'm really excited about them. They are not perfect, I will say that. I didn't expect them to be, but they have a little bit of differences in some of their levels. It's super slight. Honestly, I think it's pretty good for not having, you know, any kind of woodworking training or anything like that. This one right here was the first door that I built, and you can definitely tell. I'm calling it my stair-step door. It got a little bit off, but whatever. What are you gonna do? I mean, if it really bothers me, I can take it down and fix it, but it doesn't really bother me. So I'm just gonna roll with it. I think it adds to the look and to them looking homemade and refurbished. I really like how these turned out. I added on the vintage knobs that we have, and then I also went and got some little clasps that can hold the doors shut if we want them to. They stay shut on their own as well, but it's just kind of like a nice decorative feature. We also added the pictures above the cabinet as well. So the room is totally ready and done. All we have to do now is move our clothing, and I'm gonna put DIY supplies into the cabinet and decorate this section right here. Like I said, I'm gonna look for some baskets to go in here. I think I want to do maybe like, my plan is to decorate them kind of sparingly. That way there's still room for baskets to be put in, and then I can also adjust it as needed once I find some baskets to go in here. So I grabbed a few things that I think would go well in this space. Okay, so what I want to do now is start to hang some pictures in this room. All the pictures that we have in this room are from places that we've traveled to. Matt really likes to get pictures or historical items or things like that when we travel. He used to be a history teacher, so he really loves that stuff. And I think it's really cool to have those memories of your travels in your home. So this has always been kind of the room where we kept all of our travel items and all those kind of things that we got as memories from the trips that we've taken. So I want to keep it that way. I think it's a really nice theme for the room and just brings back really positive and happy memories. So I'm going to put those pictures back up, and then in our cabinet that we're building, it's going to be partly decor and things that I have picked out, not necessarily from traveling, just from stores or thrifting or flea markets. And then also I want to put 2 baskets in to kind of hold items for storage and disguise them so that you don't see the stuff sitting on the shelf. I haven't gotten a chance to get the baskets yet. I haven't had a chance to go get the baskets yet, so that will be in a future video. I'll show you what that looks like. For now, we're gonna decorate without the baskets, and then we can kind of move things around when I find the baskets. We're gonna start with these. I have 2 pictures that we got on a trip to Italy. We went to Lake Como, and so these were from a local market that we went to, and they were local artists that drew pictures, or this one's a map of the area and places that we visited while we were there. So really cool, really special memory. So I want to put one of these on each of these walls in the center. Our cabinets are done. We have pictures on the wall. The bookshelf is decorated, and this room is pretty much complete. I think this room is really timeless. This is a style that I personally will not get tired of. Really happy with it. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing me build the cabinets and decorate the space, and hopefully learn something throughout the process of building these cabinets, and maybe even you'll give it a try yourself. I have really had a great time doing it. I love this space. I've loved being able to share it with you, and I'm so excited to be able to start doing our projects in here more and more. We'll still use some of the other spaces in the house from time to time, but we're gonna have a space that's completely dedicated to us and being able to work and create, and I just really love that. So I'm very excited. So if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can see more videos from me like this every week. I put out new videos on Sunday. We're gonna have some more little makeovers coming up on the channel. I have some more things that I want to do, as well as some smaller DIY projects that are going to be really easy for you guys to replicate at home. Make sure that you stick around and that you tune in every Sunday to see those. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.